So Jesse, if you don't mind hitting record for me, please.
All set, thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, so away we go. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our annual webinar, providing an overview of the New Mexico Main Street Annual Program Review and Accreditation process. I think I know all of you, but just in case I don't, my name is Amy Barnhart. I have been a revitalization specialist with New Mexico Main Street since 2013, so I have been doing annual accreditation since that time. So I would be curious to know how many I have completed. So one of these days I will put that number together, figure that out. But I will be taking the lead on the webinar today, and I'm not sure if Daniel is attending this or not, but I know that my colleague Sasha Pellerin will be joining us about halfway through. She had a conflict for the first part. And Sasha is actually going to be assisting with this process this year, as I mentioned in my email that went out. So it will be she and I that are conducting the accreditation process this year as your main points of contact. So some of you have, seen this presentation before, so there's certainly going to be some old information that you're familiar with already, but there are some new things that I want to make sure everybody's aware of. And I will make sure to highlight those when I send out the follow-up information for anyone who is unable to attend, or in case you forget. But, what does it mean to be a Main Street program? Well, you've been designated. All of you have officially been designated. You've gone through that onboarding process that we put you through. You're doing the Main Street work, and then you are striving to meet the annual accreditation criteria. So these are really the three elements: the designation, doing the work, and then maintaining that designation and trying to excel and ensure that you're performing at that accredited level, and hopefully positioning yourself to be a great American Main Street program someday as well. So this is your opportunity to share your highlights, your accomplishments, your successes, both with us as well as your municipal partners who are usually in that space with us. It helps us, New Mexico Main Street, understand the progress you've made, what your upcoming goals and priorities are, so we can identify how we can assist and what funding you might need. Main Street America does require that we undergo this process to determine whether you should be designated an affiliate or accredited program. And then we also collect a lot of information that we are then able to share at the legislative level with our representatives who, this is a way for us to kind of know everything that's going on. So when people ask like, hey, what's going on in this community, we can pass that information along. I did see there was a comment in the chat. Is it just AI notes? Yes, it is just AI talking to me. Leave me alone, AI. Okay, on to the next slide. So this is coming from Main Street America. For them, this process is valuable because it recognizes those programs that are operating at the highest level. It also helps you identify those areas that you can strengthen to help enhance your fundraising, your volunteer development, your overall sustainability. It also illustrates accountability and credibility to partners. So I know some of our Main Street programs, their municipality includes in their annual contract that they must be an accredited program. So that is a priority to them. It additionally helps challenge the board to organize itself and grow, continues to help build the Main Street brand. So, people oftentimes don't understand why you don't get to call yourself a Main Street program until you've actually gone through the whole onboarding process. And that's because at the end of the day, this is a brand, this is a national brand. Main Street America wants to protect it. They want high performing programs receiving that accredited designation. They want to ensure that the organizations that have a designation are truly doing the Main Street work and are being successful. Being accredited also positions you to apply to be Great American Main Street Award winner. It also ensures you're eligible for some grants through Main Street America. Additionally, through New Mexico Main Street, you must be an accredited program to receive capital outlay funding for project construction. We will provide planning funding if you're an affiliate program, but if you want to actually be able to implement and do a construction project and receive funding from us, you have to be an accredited program to receive that. Being able to show that you're accredited year to year shows an ongoing track record of performance. And of course, there is cachet. You're able to use it as a marketing tool. You're able to publicize it and say, hey, look at us. We're accredited once again. We're doing a great job according to Amy and Daniel and Sasha and MainStreet America. So you should support us and keep funding us, right? So as I mentioned, this year, Sasha is going to be joining Daniel and I for this process. So Daniel will still be participating in each of your meetings, and then Sasha and I will be splitting up all the communities. And so, yes, we have 32 programs we'll be evaluating this year. So we're going to be busy just like we always are. Some of you may remember when I was doing all the accreditations by myself a few years ago. So it's always exciting to have somebody to share the work with as we go along, because as we know, there are quite a few different components to this process. So we're going to be walking through each of those components, and we're also going to be talking about the new changes that are happening this year, which you're all going to be very happy about. I feel like it's not that often that I get to say you're going to be happy about the changes. You're going to be happy. So happy to be able to relay that to you as well. So just really quick, I just want to touch on the timeline that we have happening here. So yesterday I emailed out materials to you all, and you may have noticed I usually include the PDF version of the 6 standards, which are used for that self-assessment for you to rate yourself. I did not send that out yet, and I'm going to explain to you why in just a little while. So you would have received my instructions document and the checklist at the back, which you can use internally to make sure you have everything. I also sent you the meeting schedule that also has Zoom meeting links and a SurveyMonkey link. Some of you have already reached out about needing to change your meeting time. So please, 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 if you need to make a change, do it ASAP. We don't have a lot of openings for makeup. So really trying to make sure it's like, you absolutely have to do it if you're asking for a meeting change. I also sent out the performance report instructions and template. There's some changes there as well. So I'll be talking about that in a few slides. Today, we're doing our webinar. We're going to start our virtual annual accreditation meetings October 7th, and then those are running through December 4th, with a following week after that allocated to makeup meetings. So if you're asking for a reschedule, it's probably going to be then, until we have some other openings that pop up, because what happens is if somebody reschedules, then we have their meeting time open and available to move you to. But again, keeping in mind that nobody wants to move to an earlier meeting, which is usually the ones that end up being open. So if you're, we only have a very limited number of additional, makeup meetings available in December. So again, really trying to make the one work that you have. And if not, we'll do what we can to accommodate you and change that as well. Reminder that, we ask that you submit all of your documents 1 week in advance of your meeting at least. And then, we say this every year, we're going to get you your reports back earlier. Well, this year it's happening, and that's because we are not doing a traditional report anymore. And I'll be happy to talk about that a little bit later as well, about what's changing there. And then, I'll be touching on this also, but really throughout the year on a month-to-month basis, you might have one or another revitalization specialist in your community, or you might have Daniel or Lucas there for a specific meeting. And that's what we're using as our site visits now. We just want to make sure that we have somebody from New Mexico Main Street who's in your community. It doesn't have to be an official site visit. It could be, for Will there providing technical assistance on a design project. It's just making sure that we are setting foot in your community at least once every 2 years and able to see what's happening there. So here's just a quick example of what the instructions document and checklist look like. So on the right-hand side, I forgot to put the new version of that. That's from last year. It's slightly different this year, but this is just a checklist that I've created for you all as a tool, especially for those of you who are new to this process, to just make sure that you're on top of everything that's required. And, it is a lengthy document, but it does walk you through all the different things that you really need to know to be successful in completing the different elements of the annual accreditation process. So if you haven't looked at that yet, I would definitely recommend taking a look and familiarizing yourself with it. So there are a variety of compliance documents we ask you to update every year. Every year I come to this webinar and I say, you know, you should have already updated all these documents. Hopefully you did all these at the beginning of 2025 instead of waiting till now, but we would like to see that board roster, your operating budget, and actually it doesn't have to be your operating budget, just your full budget is fine, because then we can see everything. Don't feel obligated to separate out the operating budget. You can put it all, you can have all of it provided to us. And that annual work plan, those are the three that I absolutely need before that accreditation meeting, as far as the documents that you see listed right here. If you are missing a few board conflict of interest disclosures and you can't get them done before the meeting, that's not the end of the world. We will follow up with you on that, and we will make sure that you ultimately get them uploaded. If you ask for an extension for your IRS Form 990 and so you don't have it uploaded yet, like, we're not gonna, you know, that's not like the biggest deal. Like, we want to see it ultimately. We need to see that uploaded. But having those three that are highlighted in blue, that's just something that was valuable to us as far as conducting your meeting and then preparing recommendations that we send back to you. For me, I use the board roster just so I can make sure I spell everybody's names right, have their titles correct in advance of the meeting, so that way I'm not furiously trying to type and ask people to repeat their names over and over again. You see we have the Secretary of State and the Attorney General registration here. I would say when you get out of this meeting, go check and make sure that you are in compliance and have completed those, because I am going to start checking those, if not this week, early next week. And so if you are out of compliance, you will be receiving emails from me telling you, you must complete this, you must update this ASAP, because you are not technically supposed to be even functioning or accepting money if you are not in compliance with these registrations. We should all, I think, be okay with our MOUs between New Mexico MainStreet, your organization, and your municipality, because those were all done last year, so we should be good until next year. And then Jesse always very helpfully uploads those for us. Jesse also uploads your sub-licensing agreement as well. And I think she's really been following up with those of you who haven't completed those. So if you don't remember that, it might be a good time to check and see if it's in there and confirm whether or not you did sign it. It's a digital sign, because she always uploads them and checks it off, which is super, super helpful. And of course, we also want to see that local government contract as well. And we want it to be the current one for the year that you are currently in. If you upload a bunch of these at one time, you can always just send an email to me or to Sasha, and then we can go in there and we can check them off for you. And we can just put a comment in there acknowledging that they're current. We will be going in and checking ourselves, of course, but if it's helpful to you to see those lights change in the dashboard and and to see things marked as completed, we're happy to do that if you just shoot us an email and let us know. Also, if you are waiting on your 990 to be completed, for instance, you can give us an update on what's going on with that, or what's going on with the local government contract, and then we can add that information into the comment boxes in the dashboard so that you can see that reflected there. We also love it when you label your documents with the year and the name of your community, or even just the abbreviation you can see here in my example, SMS for Shelbyville Main Street. That is so helpful to us, because then we know right away it's the correct document and who it belongs to when we're downloading everything. And we will, like my mode of operating, and I believe Sasha will be doing the same thing, is we're going to be going in and resetting the dashboards, and I probably won't go back into your dashboard until 2 weeks out from your meeting. I'll go in, check, see where you're at, and then I'll just send an email checking in with you, just like a little reminder, like, hey, it's coming up, I saw you have all this done, here's what's missing. And then I'll check again 1 week out, which is our deadline, and if there is anything missing, then you'll get a slightly more aggressive email. Just kidding. Not too aggressive, but a little bit more like, hey, when are you going to get this to us? We really need this so we can prepare for your meeting. And I probably already touched on a few of these, though maybe not. I haven't touched on this one yet. So if your board roster is current and up to date, that is so helpful to us, because then when we look at those conflict of interest disclosures, we're just comparing them to your roster. So making sure that you're not missing anybody, or that there's nobody on your board roster that has since stepped off and is therefore not going to be in your conflict of interest disclosures, that just saves a few different emails between us and just saves time. So just really making sure that the board roster and the conflict of interest disclosures match each other. And additionally, if you do upload them in the order of your board roster, like if you are scanning them, or if you're, organizing them in Adobe Acrobat, if you put them in the order of your board roster, that is even nicer, because then we can just go down the line and compare them. I would even say, if you're waiting on a disclosure or two, don't even bother uploading the ones you currently have, because it's extra work for you. I would rather you not spend that extra time uploading something incomplete, and just, especially when it's disclosure statements, like just wait until you have them all together and then do it. So the IRS 990, not current. So that's something that happens a lot, like where I'm just going in there and I'm checking, hasn't been updated because an extension has been requested. So if you have requested an extension, just upload that to the dashboard. So then we know, like, they're not out of compliance with the IRS. They just asked for an extension. Here it is. We'll check back in 6 months from now and make sure that it's been uploaded or that it's been completed. Again, we shouldn't have this issue with the MOUs this year, but sometimes people upload the version of the MOU that's not signed, and what we need is a signed version. Usually, as I said, Jessie will upload those when she gets those in. So that's, when it goes to her and it's complete and final, it's okay. But sometimes we'll have people upload incomplete ones. And so that's gonna mean that we're just gonna follow up with you and say, hey, you gotta upload the one that's signed, or we need the Council of Resolution of support as well. So just making sure that you're dotting the I's, crossing the T's before you take the time to upload it to the dashboard. Sometimes we get a work plan that doesn't list your economic transformation strategies, and we really need to see those in there. So just make sure whatever format your work plan is in, that you have those strategies included in it. MainStreet America, when you complete that self-assessment, one of the baseline requirements is about your work plan. And so they want to know, do you have measurable objectives? Have you identified tasks needed to accomplish projects? Who's completing those projects? What's the timeline? What's the budget? So they don't want to see, and we, New Mexico MainStreet, don't want to see just a list of projects. Like, we want a work plan. Here's an example on the bottom right here. You can see they've got all these different things identified. So we just want to make sure that that's included in that work plan. MainStreet America does not look at everybody's documents that are uploaded to their portal, but they will be spot auditing. So we don't want you to be the one that they choose to audit and then you have missing information, because then they're going to be like, wait, they're accredited, but their work plan doesn't have all this other information included. The dashboard is also a place where we have these other documents as well. These are not ones that you have to upload every year unless you changed these policies or if you amended your bylaws. So if you amend your bylaws, upload them to the dashboard, as well as your policies if those have been updated. That just makes it easier, for us. If you're asking for help from us on something, we can go and say, oh, well, let me look at their fiscal controls policy and just see what that says, because they might not be reading it and not even aware that they already have a policy in place for it. Or the bylaws just makes it easier for us. We don't have to we're not working from an out-of-date document. And additionally, when you have a transition in staff, the next person has all that information in one place that they can access easily. So we've been talking about the digital dashboard. Many of you are already familiar with it. Or if you read through the instructions I sent out, then you have a sense of, okay, this is a place where things are stored. So this is where you upload all those documents we just touched on. You can see on the left here, there's 4 different sections, and there are green, yellow, and red lights. And those change after you upload things, and then Sasha or I go in and check them off. So it won't change when you upload it. We have to go in and mark it as completed. So that's why I said sometimes people like to let us know when they've uploaded stuff so that they get to see those lights change and show their progress that they're making. Just make sure you're clicking on the appropriate section. I once had somebody ask me they requested a technical assistance visit because they could not figure out that you just click on the active link to have it drop down and open up what we see here on the bottom right. So I had to drive to their office, click on it, and then we were done. And then I went home. So let's avoid that technical assistance request and just practice on here, right? Try clicking on a few things, see what happens. So like I said, we have to go in and check those off as achieved for you. We also are the only ones who can edit that comments box. And so like I said, if you give me a status update on a document, I'll type it in there so that I remember what's going on so that you can see that reflected there. I will also periodically check your partner surveys, and I will type in the number that you have in your partner survey comment box as well. So nobody may even realize I'm doing that, but I'm doing it because, again, it's a way for me to keep track of it also and know when I last looked at it and where you're at in relation to how many surveys we want to see you receive. So again, these documents are due 1 week prior to your accreditation meeting. So speaking of partner surveys, I did send out the partner survey link in that calendar document that I sent. So that survey link is specific to your community. You know, it usually says, like, let's just say San Pedro, Revitalize San Pedro, it says RSPP partners is like the end of the link. So you should know which one belongs to your community. Make sure you don't copy and paste somebody else's link, because then, you know, Corrales is going to get all of San Pedro's reviews or feedback. So we just want to make sure we're using the correct link. This is for any stakeholders or partners, business owners, volunteers. It is not for board members, because board members can provide their feedback in the self-assessment. So this partner survey is for partners, right? Like, this is how we are collecting their input. So I would say, regardless of when your meeting is, send that link out now. You have it, send it out, because then that gives you the chance to send it out several more times before your meeting. The last few years, for those of you that have been around, we've had some very high responses, which has been amazing. I think Artesia had the most last year. I think it was like 34. I think Corrales had about the same amount the year prior. So I think Tucumcari and Carlsbad, some other communities had a lot of responses last year too. So this is a great tool, because we know that MainStreet America is asking us in the self-assessment about, are we collecting community input or feedback on our work? This is a way for you to do that. So use this to help you meet that standard and actually have it benefit you and provide you with some valuable input. If you are not sure how many responses you have, I'm happy to go in there and check for you and let you know. Sasha will do the same. So if you're wanting to know if you need to send it out again, we'll go in there and let you know what you've received thus far. So the MainStreet America platform, the self-assessment, and the supporting docs. So here's where we're going to have a few changes that you're going to like. So pay attention to this part here. You know, we've got the website here, mainstreetreporting.org. If you are not sure what your password is, you can click on Forgot Password. It'll send you an email so you can reset it. We only have one person from each organization who can access this. So it would be fine for you to share your login information with a board member if they're assisting you with this process, or another staff person. But they don't want to have multiple people in here at once, because I think it would create some issues as far as like saving changes, overwriting things. So they only want one person in the platform for each community at one time. So if you are having any issues with, like, you're trying to log in and your email address is not working and needs to be updated, which now that I think about that, Carlsbad MainStreet just updated theirs, so I'll need to go in and update Johnny's email address in there. These are all the things that you should ask myself or Sasha for help with. So you could see right here, coordinator responsibilities, coordinator is referring to New Mexico MainStreet. So If you are having issues with any of that kind of stuff, we can help with that. If you're having issues like, I'm clicking on this thing and it's taking me to this weird place and I don't even know what it means, that's going to be something that the MainStreet America, the people who manage the platform, are going to have to handle. And I am happy to say that my complaining last year resulted in the addition of the ability to upload an image to your support request. So if you're having a problem, you can always screenshot it and then upload it to them. And they just want to make sure that you give them as much information as possible if you have to submit a support request through the platform, so they know how to help you. So taking a screenshot of whatever it is that you're seeing is a very helpful way to do that for them. Oh, oopsie, same one in there twice. And again, what is going on? That is so weird. Huh. Oh, maybe I just went backwards. Never mind. We're good. Okay. So when you get in there for that self-assessment, the very first thing it's going to ask you to complete is the baseline requirements. To be accredited, you must say yes to each of those. Now, I don't want you to say yes if you're like, oh, no, we don't have a work plan. So you should have a work plan if you're saying yes to having a work plan, because they are also going to ask you to upload that work plan to their platform as well. So you can see here some examples of what they ask you to upload. So they're going to ask you to upload your budget. They want you to upload a board roster or matrix that's kind of showing the breakdown of your board. Like, they want to make sure that you have a diverse representation on the board. They also encourage you to upload some sort of annual report, infographic, like if you put out like a press release at the end of the year or something saying like, here's everything we accomplished, they want you to upload something like that. You can upload your impact report if you have completed one of those with New Mexico Main Street, or you can upload that local program annual performance report that we are asking you to provide if you don't have an impact report anyway. So that will be another option. So you have something that you could upload there that they can see. Let's see, I saw something in the chat. Good question, Adrian. Let me think about that and we'll talk about it after. So here is an example of the transformation strategy baseline requirement. So one change that is happening, they are no longer going to have a place for you to upload a file here. It's just going to be this drop-down menu where you can select up to 3 strategies or type in a customized strategy that your community is using. And so I would just type in, assuming that they're giving enough characters, your like strategy statement, or if they don't have enough characters there for you, you could just do like the shortened version of it, like more of a title almost. But they're asking for that information here on that baseline requirements page, so you don't have to have a separate document that you're uploading with those strategies. So that's one of the changes that's happening. As in years past, you will be rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 for each of the indicators. And you are expected to provide justifications as you have in the past. So if you say you're a 5 on building partnerships and collaborations, you better darn well provide examples of how you're performing at a 5. You know, that's really, you know, they consider a 5 to be a Great American Main Street Award level community. So if you're rating yourself as a 5 across the board, then you must be planning to apply next year or very close to being ready to apply. And so if you think, oh, wait, no, we have a lot of stuff we need to work on, maybe consider dropping it down to maybe a 4, maybe a 3. Let's, you know, we want to make sure everybody, we think that you all should be accredited, but we also want to make sure that we're being realistic about where we're at, because then we miss out on opportunities to improve if we're just saying, oh, we're 5s across the board, we don't need any help, we don't need to do anything different. On the left-hand side here, you can see this is what that PDF document looked like that we previously used. And then the bottom right, this is what the platform looked like last year. These things are changing. And so I'm highlighting these right now, just so you remember what these look like here. Because let's see, is it in? No, I think it's my next slide after this one. I'll share with you those changes. So this is just, again, reminding you that when you're looking at these indicators in there, they are asking you, they're providing you with examples. And so they're giving you a list of like, here are examples of how you might be meeting this indicator. Just keep in mind that you might be meeting this indicator in different ways. So don't get too caught up in like, we are not doing the exact thing they're listing here. Think about what you are doing that you think helps you meet that indicator. You will see some like this that say meeting this indicator is a requirement to achieve accreditation. Meeting means you have to rate yourself a 3 or higher on there. So usually, you know, like you could rate yourself a 2 on something and a 4 on something else, and then they all kind of like equal out in the end because they're averaged. But for the ones that say you must be meeting this indicator, it has to be a 3 or higher. So keep that in mind. It will ask you at the end of the self-assessment what the date of your last site visit was or on-site visit. You could just use your meeting date, your accreditation meeting date. We're not expecting you to have to like go back and be like, when was Will here? Or when was Amy Bell here? When did Daniel come? You know, just use your accreditation meeting date. We're perfectly fine with that. They also want to know when you received MainStreet designation. This is also where you're going to upload your performance report. And then 2 new things. We want to pay attention to this. I need like a Kmart blue light special. We are no longer asking you to identify TA or weaknesses in the performance report. They will be questions in the MainStreet America platform. So that is where you will provide that information. And I will explain why in just a few minutes. But that's where that information is going to go. So that will not be in the separate performance report document. It's going to be in the MainStreet America platform. Okay, so here's the big changes. This is the big bow that everybody needs to be paying attention to, which I think you'll be happy about. Remember that PDF we looked at where it just had the one long notes box for all the indicators within the standard? They are bringing that back, but it'll be in the platform. So you will not have a separate notes box for each indicator. The entire standard, this is my understanding because it's not complete yet, which is another thing we have to talk about. My understanding is that it will have all those indicators for standard 1 and 1 box of notes where you're including your justifications there. The other thing is they are going to be eliminating all those extra clicks. So remember how we had to just like click, 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 a million clicks, like so challenging to get from one indicator to the next, like such a pain. They are working on having everything on one screen. So you should just be on one page scrolling down. So if you want to go back and say, oh, what did I rate myself on that one? It'll literally just be right there. You don't even have to like click through a million times to try to find stuff in there. So that's a big change they're making that I'm super psyched about. I'm sure you all are. Yay, I'm seeing some positive comments in there about that. So I think that we're all going to be really excited about that. They are also, something else that I've heard people complain about, they are planning to consolidate a few of the indicators. So on an earlier slide, I had 35 indicators on there. I should have deleted that because I'm not actually sure how many indicators there's going to be. It's still going to be a lot. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be like way shorter, but they are collapsing some of them. So like I know some people, you know, were aggravated, like, okay, it's the same question, but there were these little subtle nuances, like there'd be a question about your partnerships with like private entities, and then there'd be a question about your partnerships with public entities. And my understanding is some questions like that, they're collapsing them into one question. So you can, you know, just answer both of those into one indicator as opposed to, you know, kind of sometimes some of those entities overlap, right? Like they're not always totally separate. So that's exciting. I think we're all pumped about that. I'm seeing a lot of positive chats in there. I think I mentioned everything else here already. Oh, they are going to add this additional text box at the end where you could just provide some overall feedback on like your highlight of the year or just like any like big message you want to deliver about like your successes over the previous year. And like I said, New Mexico Main Street will be adding questions on there ourselves related to, you know, what technical assistance you want in the next year and like what weaknesses you want to address and how we can help. And so I can't remember let me see what my next slide is. Okay, so I'll just mention it now. So like I said, if you go log in the self-assessment right now, there is not a 2025 version available yet. They said it should be completed in the next week or so. That is why we started a week later with the accreditation process, because we wanted to give our first communities time to actually complete the self-assessment. I am happy to send to you, or you can just use last year's version of the self-assessment PDF that we used last year. So I know a lot of you send that out to your board to get their feedback, you know, on their own evaluations, and then you combine them. So I'm happy to send that out to you all. I'm hoping that we're going to get a new version of it from MainStreet America that reflects those indicators that have been collapsed into each other. But they're still working on everything right now. So we're just kind of waiting on that. So for those of you who are at the beginning of the accreditation process, I would say focus on, you know, getting your other stuff completed and then tackling the self-assessment last. But like I said, you can go ahead and use last year's, the PDF that we previously shared with you internally to work on that so that you have it ready to go whenever you can get into the platform and enter it in there. So I kind of just touched on some of this, but we highly recommend that you get input from the board. Don't just do it yourself as the executive director, because we want them to learn. We want our board members to learn and understand what the expectations of MainStreet America are, what they think, you know, because I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's like a eye-opening experience looking through that and saying like, oh, this is, I mean, for good and for bad, right? Like on the one hand, we want them to know what they should be helping with, but on the other hand, it might be a little bit overwhelming as well. But I think it's important to remember that we don't have to be fives on everything. I mean, we want to work toward that, but it's okay to gradually pace ourselves and strengthen those different areas as we go along. So get board member input on those ratings. You know, you'll average them all together. Maybe you need some additional discussion with the board, especially if you feel like, oh, we're right here or there. We will also rate your program, and we use the information that you've provided to us to do that as well. So the performance report, the information you put there is so helpful. The information you put in your justifications for the indicators is so helpful. That's how we are able to be successful in rating you. And it makes the process quicker for us too if you're providing us with good information. Ensure the supporting documents you're uploading are meeting MainStreet America's requirements. I would say and I will definitely send an alert out once I'm aware that the platform has been completed. But I would say when you get that alert, go in there and familiarize yourself with it before the day that you have to enter it all, just in case you run into any issues. Make sure that you're doing it like, you know, not the day that we're asking you to submit it. And then again, reiterating that MainStreet America is spot auditing self-assessments and the uploads. So just to avoid having them question your community, you know, just make sure that you're turning in a product or information that is meeting the requirements there. So local program annual performance report, we're getting close to the end here. So we've been using this format for a number of years. I changed it up a little bit last year and to make it so there were fewer boxes for you to complete. This is where you can let us know about the projects you've been working on over the last year. So we get a sense of what you've accomplished. We can get a sense of like, oh, are all their projects promotion? Then they are probably going to need some recommendations related to design, economic vitality. So this is kind of a way for us to get a holistic sense of what it is that you have accomplished over the last year. We also have a space in here too, where you can kind of show how these relate back to the standards that are in that self-assessment as well. And you can even refer in the self-assessment, say, see performance report to learn more about our partnership building with the city. You know, if you don't want, there's no reason you need to retype everything in both places if you're alluding to things in both places. So feel free to direct us to one or the other. Now, there is another change. Something else you'll be happy about. Oh, whoops, that was too early. Okay. Wait, the change is coming. The change is coming. Hold on to your seats. Hold on to your hats. Get excited. Don't spit your water everywhere when I tell you. But just a reminder, one of the issues that I have seen many times is 5 words describing a project that took you 6 months to plan, organize, and implement. And you are selling yourself short because you are not at all conveying the level of what you put into it. So just make sure you're not under-reporting, and also don't over-report. Like, don't throw so much information at us that we can't even process it. Like, and it's tough because we're reading a lot of different reports. And so trying to organize it using bullets, trying not to jumble a bunch of stuff up together, it just makes it so much easier for us to process and really understand what you did, so we can then make recommendations or even celebrate your program and talk about you to other people because we have a better understanding of what it is that you did. We also really encourage you to still keep trying to think about what your outcomes are. You know, the outputs are the activities you implemented. The outcomes are the things that happened as a result of that. So if you were able to increase attendance at an event by adding in some additional marketing of the event, like that increase in attendance is an outcome. The marketing was the output that got you there. So just try to think about that when you're doing your reporting, because this is also just good practice for you when you're applying for grants or reporting to your municipality as well. Okay, here's the if you have completed an impact report in the 6 months prior to your annual accreditation meeting, you may submit it in place of the local program annual performance report. So the impact report refers to that beautiful product that Cam and Julia, our graphic design revitalization specialists, put together for you. Here's an example. Here's a screenshot of part of the Carlsbad one here. So if you have completed one of those recently, you are welcome to submit that in place of the performance report. Or if you have not yet reached the point where they have designed it for you, because obviously that you're dependent on them as well, if you have completed your impact report submission form, which means, you know, you've gone into that Word document and you've added in all the information you want to have in there about what you achieved over the last year and, you know, the other information they're asking for, you could also submit that instead, because we don't want to penalize you because maybe you didn't have time, you know, they didn't have time to design it before you got around to the accreditation process. So that's the other big change. And I have a link here. Hopefully you cannot hear my chihuahuas barking right now behind me. I have a link here that takes you to the submission form on the New Mexico Main Street website. If you just click on that, that'll take you there. So then you can see the submission form. You can also see there's, I think there's a few different presentations uploaded there that Cam and Julia and Eduardo had previously given just about the impact report, if it's new to you or if you're thinking, oh, maybe that's the route I want to go. You know, the impact report is a way for you to prepare, the performance report, the report that we ask you to submit, is a way for you to prepare information that then goes into an impact report. And that's how we've always encouraged people to look at it. But if you want to just skip a step and put that information right into an impact report, we are happy to accept that. So, but we just want to make sure that's within 6 months of your meeting date. So we don't want something that's about last year. We want it to at least cover information about what you have accomplished in this most recent year. And as a reminder, we're considering the year to be 12 months prior to your accreditation meeting date. So that's what we look at it, you know, or even if, let's say last year your meeting was in October and this year it's in December, so that's a little bit more time. You're welcome to report on, that's like 14 months. You could include those extra 2 months if you wanted to as well, because we don't want you to miss anything. You really want to toot your own horn there, which we love. We love a little horn tooting. And I'm going to skip this one. So we're past all that stuff. This is the easy stuff now. So the actual meeting itself. So I included Zoom meeting links in that schedule. I mentioned this in my email, but I am going to send you all calendar invites to your meetings next week. So that will also have your Zoom meeting link in it. And then you will be able to invite board members or municipal partners with that link as well. So it's all in one place. Zoom meeting link is there. We do encourage you to have 80% of your board in attendance. We do encourage you to have representatives from your municipality, especially if you've had a little bit of a rocky year. Sometimes it's really helpful for us to get those municipal partners there, because then we can help spread the word about the work that you're doing. We can help get a sense of where they are. You know, Daniel's always got different ideas of ways in which we can help your organizations meet the needs of your municipality. So really, really important to have those municipal partners in that space as well. And we really don't like to spend any time talking about the past in the meeting itself. We really just want to focus on what you want to do in the next year, what we can do to help, and check in on, like, if you have a capital outlay project, that gives us a chance to talk a little bit about that, get some input. I mean, I can tell you that there's been multiple accreditation meetings where, like, it has come up like, oh, well, we didn't have enough money to complete the capital outlay project. And then through that conversation, we're able to identify ways for them to get the additional funding that they need to complete a project. So don't underestimate the power of the meeting and getting everybody in that one space together, the municipality, your board, your organization, and New Mexico Main Street all together. And to reiterate all that, it is so, so, so important that you get all those documents submitted 1 week in advance, because I am literally going in there and checking, like, oh, where is it? They're still missing this one. Oh, I can't assemble the document or the packet until I have it. And it just is so much easier for us on our end to have that, and gives us the time to really go through and look at everything you've accomplished and treat your organization with the respect it deserves, you know, to, like, really understand what you've achieved and appreciate what you've done. So we always get together at the beginning of the week. So that's why, like, let's say your meeting's on a Tuesday and you're like, oh, I need a few more days. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I can give you till Friday, but we have to have them Friday so I can get them together. I can send them to Daniel, whoever else is going to be involved, so that we have time to review them before we meet on Monday to talk about whether your organization should be accredited or not, and what we need to focus on in the meeting, what we want to check up on, what questions we might have based on what we've looked at. So when we don't get that information, it can be very frustrating and challenging for us, because we're just, like, scrambling, trying to make sure that we're coming into that meeting, you know, treating everybody with the respect that they deserve, and, you know, but also wanting that vice versa too, right? So that we can all be prepared and come into the space and feel good and excited about the conversation that we're going to have. And also, yeah, just again, it says it here, but it's like, you know, while we're getting ready for your meeting, I am already focusing on the next round of meetings that I have the following week, sending emails to them, trying to collect their documents. So it's just kind of this, like, nonstop churn, accreditation churn. And also, fun fact, not everybody may know this, but I am getting married next month. So I am also juggling wedding stuff personally. And I'm sure Sasha will be juggling her own personal stuff as well. So when everybody's submitting their stuff on time, it makes it so, so helpful. And we are so appreciative of that from all of you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. So this is the schedule I sent out. I did already update it to reflect the 2 requests that we had yesterday. You can see that typically we always do the meetings at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. When it's not one of those times, I have made the point of highlighting it just so you don't miss it. And of course, I'll make sure that the Google Calendar invite has the correct time. And really, there's only 2 meeting links. So if all else fails, if your meeting is at 11 or 12, you're using the morning link. If it is at 2 or 1 or 3, you're using the afternoon link. So if everything gets messed up and you reschedule your meeting and you don't know where the meeting link is, just find this document, think about what time your meeting's at, and choose whether you think it's morning or afternoon. I guess noon technically would be afternoon, but I'm considering it to be morning for our purposes. And like I said, your SurveyMonkey link is here as well, so you can send that out to everybody. And I will, as changes come in, I will continue to update our own calendar, and I will update the Google Calendar if you do request a change and we have to move you. So that will get updated for you as well. Last thing I want to mention before opening up to any questions you might have, we throughout the year, Lucas collects your quarterly reinvestment statistic reports. So that is a key element of the accreditation process. So if you are not submitting those, you are positioning yourself to not be an accredited program. These are very important. The state legislature sets expectations. They actually give us numbers that they expect us to hit across all of our programs. So when you don't submit your numbers, that really impacts us. Additionally, in November, I'll be sending out the annual budget and salary survey. That is another thing that we require you to complete to be an accredited program. And that is something that we also have to report back to MainStreet America as well, in addition to those reinvestment stats. And I didn't put a slide in here, but I mentioned that, we are still going to be sending you guys a report, but it's not going to be the report you've seen in the past. So we're going to be using the self-assessment. In the report, in the body of the report in the past, we would capture in there, like, here's how many people responded to the survey, and here's where they really highly rated them, or here's what their self-assessment ratings were. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to put everything into the self-assessment. So when Sasha and Daniel and I are putting our feedback into the notes box and justifications, we're going to include that information in there. So we're going to be using those things as justifications for why we're giving you the ratings we're giving you. And then we will have a separate document with recommendations, and we will attach all those different documents together, so you'll still have them all, and then we will send them back to you in that way. So that will cut down a lot of time on our end so that you are not waiting until the next accreditation process to receive your reports, as I know some of you did. So that is our goal, is to be more efficient and find ways to where the accreditation process doesn't consume our lives, and we still get things back to you in a timely manner, right? What a concept. So this is just a reminder again, but we kind of already talked about it in terms of the impact report, but this is a way for you to pull information together that you can use in an annual report or the impact report, whatever it is that works for you. It's a very healthy process to evaluate your organization and how you're doing. And I think it's a way, particularly for staff or if you're a board member who is seeing we have some work to do and I'm struggling with how to communicate that to the rest of the board. Using the self-assessment process is a way to do that. It's a way to do it in a non-confrontational way where you can give your feedback, open up that conversation about no, we don't have 75% of the board attending 75% of the meetings because this person never comes. So what are we going to do about that? Let's think about how these things are negatively impacting us and how we can improve our organization. Additionally, all this information can be used in other ways as well. So grant proposals, marketing materials for the organization, when you're fundraising, getting those quotes even that when people at the end of the partner survey, we always ask, is there anything else you want to share with the organization? And most of the time they're saying, such and such MainStreet rocks, they rule, we love them, they're great partners. Those are things you can be pulling out and using as examples for others. Here's the feedback we're getting. People love us, right? We're the best. So just don't think about this as New Mexico MainStreet being the man and being a pain. Think about it as how can I make this helpful to me and useful as I move forward with my work. And let me see really quick, did Sasha, thanks everyone. Sasha, were you able to join? Let's see here. Oh, I don't think she's here. Shoot. Well, I think all of you had the chance to meet Sasha previously when her and Everett held a roundtable, and I know we have her information on the website as well. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Sasha yet, she's lovely, and as you saw on the meeting schedule, she's going to be splitting these meetings up with me, and I know she's going to do a wonderful job, and you're going to enjoy working with her. Are there any questions? Adrian, I haven't forgot about your question. Anybody else? Feel free to unmute. Yeah, Lisa, I think that would be okay. She's asking if you're working on a multi-year impact report. I think Daniel will be okay with that. And if for some reason you're like, you know what, we're doing a multi-year report, so we only get to include like 2 projects from this year in that, and you want to share more with us, you're welcome to still provide that performance report as well. No other questions?
Hi, this is Ilka. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Thank you. And sure.
I have a question regarding the PDF you want to send us, the one that says that you're going to send us with the last year's, the survey that was last year.
Oh, the self-assessment? Yeah, the indicators, the self-assessment indicators, yeah.
Will that work? I mean, if they're changing it, why should we work with the last year's, even if it's like to gain some time?
I don't think there's going to be so many changes. Like, I think there's only going to be a few indicators that are being collapsed. And since you'll still be answering since that PDF has that, long single note section, you would still be able to just easily copy and paste that over. So I can send it to you. I'm certainly not requiring you to do that. Like, that is just for your benefit if it's something that's useful to you, because they're really just collapsing indicators. I don't think they're just like fully eliminating any. So it would still end up like, maybe you give yourselves a 3, like the example I gave earlier, public partnerships, private partnerships, we gave ourselves a 3 on both. It's just going to be combined. So you're just going to be like putting it together. So
it's just
again, not required to do that, just if it's useful to you and you want to.
Yeah, no. It's always so hard to get this board to really go into the comments. I mean, they will just check, and then when I said, listen, I need comments because I have to put them there. But yes, yes, please send me the the questions anyways. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I will send it out with these slides. Charlotte put a question in here asking where they can look up Attorney General registration. I will put that website in my email as well. And I will put the Secretary of State one in there. They moved that one around and it is so hard to find. So I will include both of those links in the email. And I feel like there was one other thing. Was there another thing? Does anybody remember? Was there something else? Does anybody know? Can anyone tell me? I guess not.
Amy, this is Adrian. Was it me, or did you want to follow up on the side?
Oh, that might have been it. Adrian, I think you should just say yes and select one, as many as you want to, 1 to 3, with what you think like makes the most sense. Like what you're seeing is like being rising to the top. And then, yeah, because I know you're working on them. So that's what I would do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because they do have all those generic categories. Like it'll be like residents, visitors, like you could just select one of those. That's what I would say. And if Emily is here, that would be the same to you. And just so everybody knows. Zuni said they do a work session where all board members are present and they go through the portal together. So they look at each indicator and discuss it. Nolan said we have done something similar, very long meeting, but ensures engagement and allows for questions in real time, which is super helpful. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending. I hope you're excited about the changes. I think we all will be. I'm looking forward to fewer clicks on my end. I'm sure you are too. And thank you all. Also, I'll tell you right here, right now, I am not going to be in Alamogordo, which I'm super sad. I'm sorry, Nolan, because I'm getting married that Saturday. Yeah. People don't schedule around my wedding. I mean, what in the world? So I won't see you guys at that time, but I will be seeing all of you in our meetings and such in between now and then. So I will miss you all very much. And I need to be like FaceTimed the whole time so I can see what's going on. And good luck, Nolan and David and everybody else in Alamogordo. And, oh, thanks, Nolan. Oh, George wanted a final sound effect, so there we go. That's the end. Thank you, Jesse, for recording. And thank you all of you for sitting through this with me again. And let me know if you have questions, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Amy.
all.